Hello, I'm Gregory Hogue. I've been researching sacred geometry and consciousness for over 45 years. Welcome to part 4 of our series on using nature's patterns to achieve optimal health and well-being. At the end of this video, we will have links to earlier parts of this series. At the end of part 3, we were discussing the increase in the sun's radiation and the decrease in the Earth's protective magnetic field as measured by NASA. The European Space Agency, ESA, also confirmed that the Earth's protective barrier was diminishing rapidly. And the end result is a massive increase in the many forms of solar and cosmic radiation now coming into the planet, and most importantly, into you. You are changing. To change reality on any level requires an energy input. Just as ice requires energy in the form of heat to transform it into water, adding more energy will transform it into a gas. So the powerful energies entering our personal fields at this time in history are speeding up our transformation and all life processes. Not only is the energy increasing in volume, it is also increasing in frequency, offering levels of transformation unheard of in the history of this planet. All of these energies are moving us toward higher dimensional aspects of being, and by working on us to change, to grow, to evolve. Resistance to this energy flow is where you feel the pain, where you see the problems, where you feel the tension in your life. We have no choice but to learn to ride this energy, to open up to it, and to use it to dissolve our issues and grow our consciousness. To grow our consciousness means to connect more fully with the bigger part of us, our multi-dimensional self, our soul, and collectively we refer to all of this as our higher self. What is the key to our expanded, loving self? We've read in the Bible that Genesis 1:27, that God created man in his own image. Of course, the 2D man, as we saw earlier, knows that God is a line. There is no other possibility. Now, how much bigger and more accurate is our 3D understanding of God? First, we say he or she, and we make God a noun, a finite object. Then we stamp infinite on our creation as if we could comprehend the incomprehensible. We claim our God to be separate from the gods or non-gods of other beliefs, attempting to divide the omnipresent. We find ways to name and limit the limitless, because we can't imagine beyond what we know, just like the 2D man. We reduce God to our level of understanding and even into our level of primitive emotions as something to be feared. And fear is the greatest blockage to the depth of love that is at the core of our being. So, what is it about human beings, including our multi-dimensional self, that truly reflects God on every dimensional level. Only pure number is unchanging and relevant through all time and space, as it demonstrates itself through pattern and frequency, carrying it through all the dimensional transitions. Form in the third dimension, where we exist, is the final distillation of that journey, and it is also the entry point to begin the path in the opposite direction for returning us to higher levels of frequency and consciousness. As energy moves from source, it is stepped down in frequency, coalescing into what we call physical matter. But as you remember, it is still 99.99999% pure energetic space. The frozen pieces of matter that remain, like Emoto snowflakes, exhibit geometric patterns of relationship, displaying the formative essence of the energy that created it, as demonstrated by Leonardo's Vitruvian Man, seen here. Da Vinci understood, and I quote, the workings of the human body to be an analogy for the workings of the universe, unquote. The universe resonates with the physical through number, pattern, frequency, cycle, and time. Yes, time is a resonant frequency when properly applied and understood. This is sacred geometry, the totality of the space-time continuum that was the entire fabric of every ancient culture. Stonehenge, constructed over 5,000 years ago by moving 25-ton blocks of stone over 150 miles to link with the cycles of time and the movement of the heavens on a sacred site that had been used for eons because of its energetic flow. The pyramids at Giza generated large fields of transformational energies, and in modern times it was the first form, the pyramid, to make us aware of the fact that shape does affect the environment with its energy flow. The Greek temples reflected the natural order of creation and were constructed by a civilization that became a blueprint for our present-day growth in science, politics, and philosophy. And the sacred geometry found in Renaissance churches vibrationally raised our spirit into connection with the divine ethers. All ancient cultures knew the importance of reflecting Creator in their creations, because by doing so, they formed a coherent field by virtue of sympathetic resonance, which is like a C tuning fork vibrating when a C tone is played. These three-dimensional shapes and structures acted as resonant antenna systems to draw in, magnify, and broadcast the energetic flow from higher dimensional levels. Sacred geometry was firmly entrenched in each culture's existence. It was their space-time continuum. In Islam, it is currently a sacrilege to represent Muhammad or Allah by an image of a human being. A partial root of this belief is the understanding that creation and creator are most clearly expressed through number, pattern, and frequency. That is to say, sacred geometry. The Islamic culture raised this understanding to an incredible level of perfection and was flourishing at a time when Europe was suffering through the devastation of the Dark Ages. It was the discovery of this vast knowledge by European scholars that directly contributed to Europe's rebirth, the Renaissance. During this time, in the late 12th century, a young student from Italy, Leonardo Pisano, studied in North Africa in Islamic institutions because his father held a diplomatic post there. He was better known by his nickname Fibonacci, which was later applied to a numerical sequence he introduced from his foreign studies relating to the phi ratio and all organic growth. In recent times, many have attributed the knowledge he shared to be self-discovered, but as I delved into what he brought to Europe, I became aware that he had relayed the information of Islamic scholars. He also returned with a drawing of a geometric form known as Metatrons Cube. Here is evidence in a book on Islamic patterns by Keith Critchlow. What you see is one of a series of instructional drawings from Islamic scholars that has come to be known as Metatrons Cube. Its discovery was falsely attributed to Pisano, who worked with it as a student. It's called a cube because it is a projection of a three-dimensional cube onto a flat surface, which is referred to as an orthogonal projection. This pattern also contains the projection of an octahedron and a double tetrahedron. It is a flat projection of 3 of the 5 Platonic solids rather than containing all of them, which is another misunderstanding following Metatrons Cube. Now remember earlier in my presentation when we talked about all geometry in this reality having an X, Y, Z axis? Well, that means all three-dimensional geometries also have an X, Y, Z flat projection as well. Now this projection or shadow image that we are seeing of Metatrons Cube is only one of 3 possible images. Now, something else that I also want to remind you of is how the two-dimensional man disappeared when he turned sideways. That means he doesn't exist in this dimension. And by extension, we can now understand that no two-dimensional geometries in books or computers exist in our 3D reality either. They have no intrinsic energy flow and thus have no capability to act as antenna systems in our 3D world. Any perceived energy that a two-dimensional image seems to have is a projection of energy from the viewer. We, as human beings, are magnificent creators, and this is the ultimate placebo effect. Here are 3 different views of a 3-dimensional Metatrons cube, constructed in bronze rod and gold-plated for the increased energy flow. The views exist as seen looking at the vertex, the edge, and the face. These views correlate with the beginning elements found in geometry: the point, the line, and the plane. Using this understanding, I have discovered a way in which a two-dimensional form can become a receiver of higher dimensional energy while still existing in the second dimension, and thus it becomes a conduit when I treat it like this for higher dimensional energies in the same way as a three-dimensional sacred geometric structure. It is necessary to have the three perspectives of the three-dimensional form in a raised conductive material on a non-conductive background inside a circle to create a unity of the separate parts. We accomplish this in the things that we do with multi-layered circuit boards. And as you can see here on the external face of our iConnect is an antenna system containing three different forms. Here is form 1. Now you are seeing the three elements of form 2, and finally the three elements of form 3. We have applied this revolutionary innovation to all of our small wearable tools, allowing you to use them as antenna systems, linking you to the highest dimensional realms possible. In addition, internally, we have added alchemical mixtures of over 13 crystalline structures, electronic components, and frequency crystals, vapor depositions of molecular geometries, multiple antenna systems in copper, silver, gold, and titanium, all three-dimensionally derived. Plus, we have over 9 toroidal systems, including some made out of fiber optic material, others made out of carbon fiber, and special chemicals are in there, rare earth metals, and DNA photon sources. We have so many things internally inside these pieces. Plus, once they're completed, everything is activated for a day in 2 chambers located in Colorado vortexes on our land with 20-foot-high geometries, sound frequencies, over 8 counter-spinning forms, inert gases, double geopolymer toroidal systems, and the Pleiadian portal that we make, and the Stargate. The culmination of over 40 years of research has resulted in tools that clear a pathway into a higher, more coherent state of consciousness. This loving energy follows your focus and intent to create what you desire in transforming your world. Remember this slide that showed all the impediments to higher connection and consciousness? I'm going to share a video with you now of some tests I conducted on a subject using kinesiology, commonly called muscle testing, to demonstrate how these new tools from Metaforms create a higher connection, overcoming all of these blockages. So today I have a friend that is going to help, and so what we're going to do is show you how kinesiology, that's muscle testing, the way your body reacts to your environment, can be shown just by your strength. So say your name and be strong.
My name is Ted.
Okay, now make up another name and say my name is...
My name is Mickey Mouse.
Okay, see, there's such a difference in how strong you were. And whenever we tell a lie, or we have something that's not good for us, or something's breaking into our field and causing it to collapse, and there are just so many things in this environment today. The cell phones that we're working with cause our inner field to collapse. The electricity, the EMFs that come into our environment, our emotional body. So let's visit some things. Think of something that makes you unhappy or sad. Do you have that thought?
Yeah.
Okay, see, there's no energy there at all. Here, be strong. All right. Let's talk about, the Sandy Hook school shooting that was on the news for so long. Or let's talk about some of the hurricane that happened last year on the East Coast. You see, all these things weaken us when we hear about them, read about them, or think about it when we feel sad, guilty, any kind of negative emotion, angry. But by taking the I Connect, one of the tools that we work with, here, now put this in your other hand. Okay, now be strong. All right, now let's talk about the hurricane that hit the East Coast last year. Let's talk about Sandy Hook and the disaster that happened there with the shooting. Think of the thing that made you unhappy. You see, all these things, all these emotions that run through us constantly disconnect us from Source, disconnect us from our relationship with Higher Self, and consequently from relationship with other people, with this whole planet. So that's just the emotions. Now, here's something else that I'm going to test out, and that's just, we walked into the kitchen and we got one of these little packets. Probably shouldn't tell you which one, but it's one that, this is a nutritive artificial sweetener. So be strong. You see, when that goes into your body gets weak. It disconnects. Take the I Connect, put that with it, just have it in your body. That makes a difference. So all the things that we have in the environment, the toxins that disconnect us from who we are, this is another way to literally keep connected all the time, to feel that love coming through all the time. Let's look at some other things. All right. Okay. Okay, now be strong. Okay. No, did you see what I did to weaken you? You see, what happened is, by taking this chair, and when he saw me do that, and I put it on its side, we read that as stress. When we see something in our environment that's messed up, that's not in balance, that's not going the way we want it to go, what happens is the body judges it as stress. So again, when the I Connect, be strong, okay, give it back, be strong. See the difference? All because, now here, when I set it straight up, that's the difference in your body. We do this constantly. We're driving down the street and some car goes by us, and it's a car we don't like. We go, ugly car, or ugly dress, or I don't like, this thing, that thing, the cat throws up on the carpet. All these different judgments disconnect us, separate us from reality, separate us from the love that we are inside, separate us from thinking clearly, separate us from our intuition, separate us from who we are. We're beings that are living a life of separation from everything else, and all we really want is to be connected. We want to have a relationship in our life, and that's why the I Connect is such a valuable tool, because it brings our life into relationship with everything. I've also done muscle testing with people using cell phones, computers, and all types of devices generating electromagnetic frequencies, referred to as EMFs. And what I've found is that the subjects tested strong in the presence of EMFs only if they had a heart companion or an eye connect on their body. Again, the reason for the positive shift in their physical, emotional, and mental body is connection. A connection to the larger, more fundamental aspects of our being, the creative aspects of our being. The tool becomes a bridge between spirit and matter, and this connection allows for the flow of energy that creates and sustains us and is thus responsible for all health and well-being. This was demonstrated in a study conducted by Dr. Lisa Tully, PhD. Using sophisticated technology developed in Russia, Dr. Tully found that aspects of the biofield that were weak and even non-existent in certain areas, as seen in this chart, increased in intensity, filling in all of the gaps and even creating greater energy flows in areas that were formerly broken or disconnected. All of this occurred after only 5 minutes of holding the eye connect, which was the first Metaforms tool to be tested. She was also able to measure the internal organ system function of subjects and found, as demonstrated in this test sample, a remarkable normalizing after holding the tool for only 5 minutes. The pink area in the center of the graph represents deficiency or hypoactivity, which is underactivity. Thus, we see in the top graph evidence of a very underactive liver on the left, and on the right graph, the measurements of an underactive kidney, spleen, and urinogenital system. Again, after only 5 minutes of holding the eye connect, all of their body systems and organs moved into the normalized and balanced green zone, the zone of health. Even the chakra system that was out of balance and especially underactive in the lower areas where the balls were much smaller, everything moved into balance, centeredness, and increased energy flow after 5 minutes of contact with the eye connect. These were blind tests for all of the dozens of participants, with many of them receiving placebos, which provided us with conclusive results of the effects of the eye connect. And as we saw earlier with the kinesiology testing, these powerful transformative effects also extended into the emotional body, relieving the effects of disconnection from negative emotions, and also overcoming the negative effects of stress and judgments. These tools from Metaforms maintain connection through all of the third-dimensional impediments of density. The significant increases in all of these tests show a dramatic effect of the eye connect to increase an individual's health and vitality. These results support the eye connect claim that when held on the body, energy flows and health improves. Lisa Tully, PhD. Dr. Tully also found similar effects with all of the Metaforms wearable products. Plus, she tested the Heart Companion with equipment from the Heart Math Institute and found that it expanded the energy field of the heart center and reduced stress and increased emotional balance. Thus, a healthy, balanced body is a result of higher connection. This relationship is initiated through resonance and allows for a flow of energy containing all love, purpose, and well-being. To further explain this evolutionary phenomenon, I would like to leave you with this poem that I recently wrote. We look at the world and see many problems. It is all illusion. There is only one problem, unconsciousness, and only one solution, consciousness. The truth is, consciousness doesn't come from the head. It isn't found by thinking and doing. It arises from being, flowing into creation through the heart.